test, stress test. This morning I ate mushrooms for breakfast. And welcome to this BookTrust Represents live stream. I'm so delighted that you're here. I hear that there are about 200 schools here, so that's amazing. Thank you so much for joining me and spending time with me this morning. I love it. Thank you. So let's get started. So who am I? I'm Sharna Jackson. I'm a writer. I used to live in England, and when I lived in England and when I was young, about your age, I looked like this. Like this. That's me when I was about 11, and that's when I knew that I wanted to become a writer. I was about that age. But I don't look like that now, obviously. I had hair then. And I don't live in England anymore. I live here. I live on this ship. She's called Anna Maria, and she was built in 1897. So somebody who's good at maths and good at numbers can figure out how old she is, because I can't count very well. But yeah, I live on a ship, and I lived there on that ship in a city called Rotterdam. So does anybody know where Rotterdam is? I'm sure some of you know that it's in the Netherlands. So I'm not too far from England, so I come over all the time, but that's where I live. And I live on Anna Maria with this little guy. This is Miles. He's my little new dog. I say new, I've had him for about a year now. And he is a Podenco, which is a breed I hadn't heard of before, but that's a type of dog from Portugal. So that's little baby Miles. So me, Miles, my son Joseph, and his dad, we all live together on Anna Maria. So I write books. That's why we're here. And I write lots of books. And I like books about mystery, murder, and art. So I've written a book called High Rise Mystery, which is about two young sisters who find the body of their art teacher in the bins on the hottest day of the year, and they have to quickly solve the murder before it looks like their dad might get arrested for it. So it's like, oh, so it's a very tense book. And I've written books about artists, like my favourite artist, Faith Ringgold, who made quilts, and she did performances and made sculptures. So I like to write about lots and lots of things. But in addition to writing books, I also write games. This is a game that I was part of the writing team for, Salt Sea Chronicles. And it's about a crew of people who live on a boat, who go around different islands to solve a mystery. And the mystery is to find their missing captain. And that game is on PS5, Switch, and on Steam, so it's a real game. But I'm here to talk to you about The 9-Night Mystery, which is my latest book. And it came out a week ago, or just a week ago. And it's about a young guy, Wesley, who is part of it's kind of like a scout troop with his friends Margot and Josie. And they like to do good things in the town they live. They live in Luton, in a cul-de-sac. And they decide to help their mother, Wesley decides to help his mother throw a surprise party for her friend Rachel, who also lives on the close. So Wesley and his friends get all the food together, find some guests, and throw this party. The next day, Wesley goes over to help Rachel with a little errand, and he finds her dead in her bed. So it's all very tense, because he thinks somebody that he invited to that party, did this bad thing. So the race is on to find the culprit. So I'm going to read the first chapter of The 9-Night Mystery to you, so you can get a bit of a feel for it. Okay, I have to put my Wesley voice on, because it's a little bit different to mine. Okay, listen, I'm never doing favours for Mum again. If she tries it, I'm shutting her down with a hard no. It's the hardest no from Wesley Evans. She can send one of her other kids, or better, do them herself, because I'm not about that helping life anymore. Favours can do one. Requests? What? Nah, retired. Why? Well, it's early morning, Easter holidays, and I'm not at no holiday club. I haven't gone away with my mate Bobby. I'm not even in bed eating chocolate eggs. I'm at our neighbour Rachel's house, in her room. I just dropped a paintbrush she asked me for on the floor, and she didn't do or say anything when it rolled under the bed. Not because she's asleep or lazy, but because she's dead. Rachel Cole, dead in her bed. I squeeze my eyes shut. Rachel's room is shrinking, and so's my throat. I scratch at my neck in straight fear. I'm trying to breathe, but suddenly I don't know how to. Bruh, it smells weird in here. Not like death or what I think that smells like, but like, I don't know, flowers and herbs, but sour? What I do know is that I'm going to puke. Scary thoughts are Usain bolting through my brain, and one idea is doing laps. Someone did this to her. Someone my friends Josie, Margot and I, invited to her surprise 40th party just last night. 5 of Rachel's friends, including Mum, came, and yeah, they were a bit weird, but they didn't give murderer. I was only with them for a few hours though, so I ain't vouching for any of them. I'm not stupid. The party was stupid though. I well regret getting involved, but we couldn't help ourselves. It's what we do. We were doing a nice favour for Mum, who wanted to do something cool for Rachel. We thought we were inviting friends over. Instead, we brought enemies to Rachel's door and her life to an end. You see now, no more favours. Because this was our fault, kind of. Oh my God, warm tears roll down my face. I'm just straight up crying. I can't handle any of this. Evil people, my guilt, Rachel's ghost. Ghosts are the worst. I make the sign of the cross and promise God I'll start going to church more. I'll also ask him to have a word with Rachel and persuade her not to haunt me. Rachel seemed cool in life, an actress apparently, but I never saw her on TV though. But Rachel, in the spirit realm, in death, who knows how she rolls over there? Some ghosts not only move through walls, they move mad, very vengeful. They're not all like that Caspar, they ain't all friendly. I have to get out of here and do something before other realm Rachel does something to me. But what? I don't know the process, I ain't a detective, I'm 11. This is not my area of expertise. Painting probably is. But now I don't even have my brush. Oh, what would you do first? Who do I tell? Do I run home screaming to Mum? Nah, I can't. I've got to tell her properly, give her a fresh mint tea first. She liked Rachel. They were close. They met at their stomachache group thing. Since she moved here to Copsey Close, they've been besties living in each other's pockets. Mum even has a key for Rachel's house, and you just don't dish those out to anyone, do you? Mum's been busy lately, distracted. It's why she wanted to throw Rachel the party in the first place. Don't suggest calling Craig. That guy's my dad in name and biology only. I ain't even seen that fool for years anyway, so that's pointless. Ask my sibs, my twin brother and sister, for help? Nah, they'd offer none, plus they're younger than me, they know nothing. They do my head in sometimes, but I don't want them near dead bodies. Yeah, best thing to do is keep cool. Text Josie and Margot and figure this thing out together. Those girls are my best friends. Well, Josie is. Margot's getting there. They both live on the close too, so they can get here in seconds. Josie spends half her life on Google searching for ways to change the world, or different ways to tell me what to do, so she'll have an idea. Margot will go into secret agent mode. She says she wants to be a writer, but I swear Margot's a baby spy. She's loaded and way too fancy to live here. Listen, I love my town, but like you have a whole big house in London. Why are you living in a little one in Luton? Make it make sense. Margot will start coming up with theories and plots that, well, she'll cry, which fine, like this is the worst thing to happen ever. But she won't be that sad. Nah, she'll weep about the beauty of the circle of life or some crud like that. But you know what? I'd rather listen to that and be with them than be here. We make a good team, and we've actually done decent things as a trio. A few months ago, Josie set up what I thought was a well cringy club. She called it the Copsies after where we live, and also because it sounded professional. The Copsies is kind of like a second-hand scout troop, but you know what? It's good. We help people. So yeah, now we have to help Rachel. Yeah, scratch what I said about forgetting favours. It's time to go and I need my brush. I open my eyes and I look at Rachel. Her wide open eyes stare up at the ceiling. Her mouth is twisted. She's not smiling, she's not acting. It's not nice. It's awful. I look away from her face and down by her side. A book, one she got gifted last night, lays next to her. On top of it is a bitten, cheese-filled potato skin. A breath catches in my throat. Mum made those, and she wouldn't let anyone except Rachel eat one. I stare at the skin as I squat down and inch my fingers forward, patting the thin, worn carpet. It's damp. I'm frightened to look at my fingers. I'm not the biggest fan of blood. I wave my hand near my face and smell spices. Another present from another guest. I lie on my stomach and tap under the bed past a scrap of paper until I can feel bristles. When I do, I yank the brush towards me. I run out of Rachel's room, slamming her door behind me and scramble, whimpering down the stairs. At the bottom, I let out a cry and burst into sobs. I pull Rachel's front door open and I run into the close, right into Josie. So that's the first chapter of the 9-Night Mystery. So you can see where it's going and kind of what Wesley's like. So You might be wondering, why 9 nights? What's that about? So 9 nights, in the Caribbean, there's a tradition that over 9 nights after somebody that you love or you know has passed away, you celebrate them and remember them over 9 nights. So every evening, people come round to their house and they bring food and drinks, and you can sing songs and play games and talk about the person that you've just lost. And it's not like a funeral where it's very sad. This is more of a celebration. And the 9 nights started in West Africa and it spread across the world. And it's supposed to be 9 nights because it is said that the spirit of the person takes 9 days and nights to finish up all their earthly business. And on the 9th night, they definitely go through their house and through their bedroom up to heaven and say goodbye. So you have 9 nights to do everything you wanted to do. So to, like, I don't know, eat more chocolate or go to that football game you wanted to go to, or an art gallery, or if you're not so kind, you know, spend time causing trouble. So you can do that too. So, but you've got 9 nights to do it. Okay. So who are the main characters in 9 Night Mystery? So if you have come across The Good Turn, which you may have already, the characters are the same. So we've got Wesley, the main character. He's a really nice, young, funny boy, but he's quite snappy. And I would be too, because he's got a lot of responsibility. He doesn't live with his dad. He lives with his mum and his sisters and brothers. So he feels like he has to look after his family. And he also feels like he has to look after his friends who love getting into trouble. Margot there in the middle, she's a newer friend. And she's from London and she's quite silly, but she's very smart deep down. And Josie is Wesley's best friend for a long time. They were both born on the same close. And they are very close and close. So I want to do a quick quiz with you in your classrooms. I know I can't see you, but I can feel you out there. So you need to put your hands up. And we are going to be figuring out whether you are more like Margot, Wesley, or Josie. So I'm going to ask you the questions. All you need to do is put your hand up like this for A, B, or C. And then I'll give you the results at the end. All right? So don't be shy. You can do it. Question 1. What are your favourite subjects at school? A, art for sure. Or B, English defo. I'm going to put my hand up for B because that was definitely my favourite. I like to sit down and read. So that was great. Or C, anything hard so I can think a lot. Okay. All right. Question 2. What do you want to be when you're older? A, alive. Joking. Something to do with design would be cool. Or B, a writer. I have to put my hand up. I've got no choice to put my hand up for B. Or C, a lawyer or an activist. An activist is somebody who really wants to help people out and make and get justice for everybody. So a lawyer or an activist. Okay. All right. Question 3. Would you start your own scout troop? A, no, join the Girl Guides and leave me alone. Or B, if my friends were doing it, sure, I'd help. Or C, yes, it might get me a job later. Okay. All right, the next question is coming up and it's a bit of a tough one. And I wanted to imagine that we're in the Copsies, we're in the group with Wesley, Margot and Josie, and we've got to solve a murder mystery. So I want to know how you're going to react. So brace yourself. If you found a dead body, what would you do first? A, straight panic. Yeah. Or B, create a poem. Or C, call the police. Okay, last question. Do you believe in ghosts? A, of course I do. You don't? Or B, maybe I'd love to meet one. Or C, nah. Okay. Right, okay, great. So, results. I think you might have an idea, but let me tell you. So I think that if you're mostly A, you're well like Wesley. Mostly B, you're much like Margot, and mostly C, you're just like Josie. But all 3 of them are great. So No shame if you got either or any of those lovely characters. They're all lovely. So why did I write the 9-Night Mystery? So I wrote the 9-Night Mystery for a number of reasons. I love mystery stories. I love mystery stories so much because they're the closest thing for me to a game in a book, because you've got to be really thinking and you've got to be quite active. So I love writing murder mysteries for that reason. I think that 9 nights are very interesting, and there's loads of things that could happen at a 9-night that could be really mysterious. And I experienced a 9-night myself. It was a while ago now, it was in 2010, and my mum died, and it was really sad, of course, but it was really lovely that people came round to her house every day with loads of like the tastiest food. I couldn't even think about cooking myself. And I got to eat and drink every single day. And I just had a baby too. So I was tired and sad and hungry. So I had lots of lovely food and lots of people giving us lots of love. So it was a really sad time, but also a really lovely time. So I thought, yeah, 9 nights would be good. Also, I also wrote it because we don't really see a lot of black and brown main characters in children's books. And I think it was 2018, BookTrust did a survey that said only 1% of black and brown characters could be found in books. And it's like, that's not enough, and that's sad, because it's important for me that all children get to see themselves as heroes in stories and being smart and funny and clever, so that everybody can see how awesome all of us are despite our differences. So there's a few reasons why I wrote the 9-Night Mystery. So how did I become a writer? I don't know if some of you go, I know that you're there, so put your hands up and tell me if you want to be a writer or you want to do something creative with your lives. I became a writer by just doing it. And I know it sounds very easy to say that, but that's how you have to do it. You have to start writing things down. But I knew I wanted to be a writer in 1990, and I know it was 1990 because I asked my parents for a diary, right? My parents. And so instead of getting me a diary that was fun and clever and like small and like full of colours and nice pictures and little shapes and colours, my parents bought me a businessman's diary for Christmas, and it was like this big, and it was red leather and had 1990 stamped in gold in the top corner, and it had just loads and loads of lines and like space, and I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't write about my walk to school because my house backed onto my school, so I could literally jump over the fence and run through the car park into my school. And I didn't write about school dinners because I took packed lunches, so there was not enough going on. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do with all this lovely paper? So I started writing a story, and that story was called Nero the Hero. And it was about a guy who would travel through space and time, just getting involved in all kinds of things. So for example, he would go to the Jurassic Park era, say, and sort out an argument between a T-Rex and a pterodactyl, and then he would like pop off up to space like you do, so easy. Just go up to space, and if there were aliens having an argument, he would like get involved and like sort it out. So he was like a mediator, and it was basically based on something I used to watch on TV at that time. It was a program called Quantum Leap. Some of your adults in the room might recognize that program, but it was really good, and I was really inspired by it. It was so good. So I say all of that to say, start writing and be inspired by the things around you. And if it's something that you love, you know, make your own stories based on it. But that's how I became a writer. But I didn't get a book published from 1990 until 2014, when I wrote some art books for the gallery I worked at the time. It's called Tate, which is in London. And it took me a long time because I wasn't confident. I didn't think that my writing was great. I was scared to show people my words as well. So don't be like me. Get your words on paper and share them so you can get better. So that's how I became a writer. And the next question I get when I come to schools or I visit anywhere, people ask me, why do I love murder? How many people have I killed? How have I killed them? Where do I put the body? What does my Google search look like? How do I find out murder methods? And I just want to be very clear that I don't think murder is funny. And I think it's very sad, and I'm so very sorry to anybody that's ever experienced anything like that. The reason why I like murder mysteries is because it's like a fantasy in which that we get to solve the problem and we get to serve justice really quickly. And that's something that doesn't really happen all the time in real life. And I also like having young detectives figuring out the puzzles and the mysteries, because I think sometimes adults forget how cool and sneaky young people are. I remember when I was young, my parents used to have the wildest conversations over here, not thinking I understood. Then I could like figure out what they were saying and then do stuff. Like, it wasn't anything bad. It was just like where the Christmas presents were hidden. They were hidden in the attic, and I'd just go up there and play with my toys and then put it all back and then come downstairs. But young people like you are really switched on and alert and sneaky, and you make the best detective. So that's why I like writing murder mystery stories. I don't have a side career in death, so FYI. Okay, so what are some of my favourite mysteries? So I would like you to like talk amongst yourselves about some of the mysteries that you like, but some of the mysteries I like, I love Robin Stevens books. I love A Murder Most Unladylike. And in fact, for those of you who know who Robin Stevens is, she was the editor of my first book, High Rise Mystery. So she read it first and made sure it was absolutely brilliant and sharp and funny and quick. So I love Robin Stevens. I also really like Anisha, Accidental Detective by Serena Patel. That's an excellent mystery. I also really love, I don't know if anybody plays it anymore because it's a bit old-fashioned, but I really like it, the game Among Us. And Among Us is a game that you can play on your phones. And it's the perfect murder mystery because you have imposters and crewmates, you have different kinds of maps, now you've got scientists and you can spawn all these different things, but that's above me. But the original game is really good. I love it, and I find that really inspirational. This sounds very crazy, but I like dying first in Among Us, and then I can like float around the map and watch what the imposter is doing, and that gives me tips for my murder mystery story. So I love that. I also like things like Stranger Things on TV, Sherlock Holmes, Poirot, Agatha Christie, anything mysterious, I want to be there. But yeah, I'd love to hear what some of your favourite mysteries are. You can tell me in the chat or later. Okay, so I want to talk to you about writing stories now, because I think that you may think that being a writer is about sitting at a desk, or if you're thinking about me, sitting on my boat with my little dog, just writing a story like it's really easy and cool. It's not. Please don't think that. It takes time to write stories, and you need to write in different ways. And I'm telling you this because I want to encourage you to start writing as well. So here are some tips, and here are some things that I do. So yeah, I don't sit down and write it from word 1 to word 80,000. Never that. Never, ever, ever. So story sparks. So that's inspiration for stories. So you need to get inspiration from everywhere. So sometimes it's hot, you think, oh, what can I write about? And if you've got a blank piece of paper or you're looking at a blank screen, you're like, oh, I don't know where to start. My tip is to just look around you. You can find stories everywhere. It doesn't always have to be, I don't know, a story about a dragon far away, or if it is, that's great. But it could be a story about something that's happening just outside the window you look at school, something really small. So look around you all the time. Sometimes look up from your phone and around the world. Sometimes ask a random person a question if it's safe. Sometimes watch something you would never have watched on TV before, or go and look at something that you know you won't like, and then that might inspire something. So be open and nosy is one of the best ways to start finding ideas for stories. That's what I think, definitely. Another important part of creating a story is creating the characters, obviously. And there are a number of ways that I do this. So sometimes I really think about people I know, and kind of do like a Dr. Frankenstein exquisite corpse mashing up of people. So I think about my little brother, who is not little or tall, he's 35 and a giant, but my little brother crossed with my friend Melinda and my first friend Jake. Okay, what would they be like? Okay, so they have Melinda's funniness and my brother's sourness and Jake's sense of humour. And then you've got a brand new person just by putting parts of your friends together. That's one way of doing it. Another way is to, once you have like a basic idea of a character, is to interview them. So ask them their name, their age, where they're from, what football team they support. Do they like prawn cocktail crisps? Do they like pineapple on pizza? All those kinds of things. And then you can get to know who they are. Another thing that I do, which does sound really creepy, but I promise you it's not, is to, if I'm on a bus or on a train or doing something outside, I'll look at somebody and then again, I'll ask myself questions about them. So where are they going to get off on the train? What stop do I think they'll leave? Where do they live? Do they live on a boat like me, or in a flat, or in a caravan, or in a house? What are they having for dinner? Who are they meeting? What would be like the best thing ever that could happen to them? And just ask myself things about them. And then you've got character ideas, but also story ideas. So basically what I'm saying is be nosy and curious, and you'll get loads of ideas. Another idea is to do the twist. And I don't actually mean like the dance, but if you want to do the dance, sure. But doing the twist is coming up with ideas, but basing them on ideas that have come before. So let's see. So if you have Murder Most Unladylike by Robin Stevens, which is about two best friends who are at a boarding school, and it's set in the 1930s, and they are detectives. So we can twist that into high-rise mystery really easily by saying, okay, instead of it being two friends, it's two sisters. So I've twisted it there. And instead of it being the 1930s, it's the 2020s. So I've twisted it there. And instead of being at a private school, it's on a council estate. So change the story 3 times and you've got something new. So if there's something that you really like on TV, or you're reading, or you've seen as a play, like take 3 things about it and switch them up and see if you get something different. And that could be a starting point for a story for you. And the last thing, well, not the last thing, an important thing is the end is the beginning. And by that I mean, when you're writing a murder mystery story, it's good to start at the end. So where you know exactly who did it, why they did it, how they did it, when they did it. So ask yourself those W questions, make sure you know all of that, and then you can go back to the start and put in all your red herrings and all those great things. So you don't have to start at the start, you can start anywhere. And I like to start at the end. All right, so that's getting ideas for stories, but planning them out is important too. And this is what my house used to look like. When I lived in a house, I put Post-it notes everywhere. I wish, like, you know how football teams have sponsors? I wish that Post-it would sponsor me, because I have so many Post-its everywhere. It's a fire hazard, actually. And what I write on Post-it notes are just like lines of funny conversation or dialogue. So when I lived in London, my son and his friends were in the car, and my son's friend said, "I'm going to roast you like a chicken." And I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. So I wrote it down, and I swear it's in one of my books. So I write like funny things down, and I also put like scenes, so like different chapters of the book, write down like a short description, pop them into like different timelines, and I can move them around and think if, you know, that might be better there or that might be better there. So I do a lot of planning on paper. So yeah, like that's a nice way of doing it. And then I actually have to do the writing of the book, and sometimes that is the worst part, I have to say. Like, I feel very nervous about writing the stories, and the reason is, if I'm being honest, it's because I'm scared, and I think it's because I want it to be perfect immediately, and when it's not, I get nervous, and it stops me from doing it. So what there is in publishing, it's quite disgusting, but it's really good. There's a term called vomit draft, like vomiting, and it means like just getting your words out, just getting them out of your head and getting them onto the page. It doesn't have to have full stops, capital letters, good punctuation. It doesn't even have to make that much sense, but you just have to get it out and get it onto the paper, because a story that's not that great yet, but on paper is much better than one that's in your head that's never going to come out. So you get it out and then you can make it better. So that's something I'm telling myself right now, because I'm writing a book right now and I have to get it out. So that's the doing of it. Yeah, so please try. Please don't spend years not doing it because you're nervous. Do it. Just do it. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about mystery stories in particular and how you write a good one. So, out there, you know what you need. You need different kinds of people. You need detectives. you need places and plots, and you need twists and suspense, don't you? All those kinds of things. And I like to, because my memory's not as good as it used to be, call that the 3 Ps. And that's people, plot, and place, okay? So people are all the detectives that you have. I like to have between 2 and 3 detectives in a story, because I like the detectives to come at the problem from different angles. I really like that. I think that's good, because you can discuss, and then they could argue a little bit. Yeah, I like an argument. So I have 2 to 3 detectives, and I have between 3 and 6 suspects. So there's people who might have done it. And then one of them is the culprit, the person who definitely did it. I don't, any more than 6 gets too much, because I want them to feel like real people. And sometimes if there's too many of them, I can't do it as well as I want to. So that's the people. I also like to have people who are in the world at the place but aren't connected to the murder. So if you've read High Rise Mystery, it would be like Barry, who runs the bar called Bermuda's, or Sissy, who works in the shop. So people who make the place feel richer. And in terms of place, you can set a murder mystery story anywhere. On the moon, under the sea, on a submarine, in a school, in your classroom, anywhere you want. But I would just say to keep the scene of the crime quite small and closed off, because if anybody could have accessed your crime scene, then anybody could have done it. And if everybody could have done it, then it's not really as fun as it could be. So if you're going to set a murder mystery in your classroom, say, don't just do it in the classroom, maybe do it, I don't know, in a dark corner of your classroom, or on the reading mat behind, you know, the bookshelf or something. Just think about making it a little bit smaller, and then you'll be spot on. And then in terms of the plot, that's what happens in the story. You need to really think about what happens and when. So with most writing, I love it. It can be absolutely fine to take us all on journeys and go anywhere. But with a murder mystery, you have to be really careful that you don't have too many plot holes, so things that don't make sense. Because if things don't make sense, then it's a bit of a, you'd have annoyed your readers a little bit. So I like to make charts of what everybody's doing in the stories at any time, so I can keep track of them. Because if you think, oh, say Wesley leaves the room and then another murder happens, you're going to think, oh, you know, maybe Wesley's involved in that, but he isn't. He's just in the bathroom. He had a lot of water to drink that morning, and he's just in there for a long time. So you've got to be really, remember everything. And then you've got to add all your twists and your red herrings, which are like basically scams. Add all of those in, and you've got yourself a good murder mystery. So people, plot, and place, the 3 Ps, they really help you, well, they help me to remember what I need to do in a mystery story, and I hope they can help you as well. So what is next for me? I'm writing a new book at the moment, and that's really fun, because I'm at the post-it note stage of it all, and writing things down and like looking at people and asking myself questions. That's really fun. And also the same day that 9 Night Mystery came out, Super Sunny Murder Club also came out. So if you like murder mysteries, but like little ones, short ones, there's a book with 13 of them in it that just came out, and that's really fun. So now we're on to questions, and I know that you sent loads of questions in advance to me, and I have them all in this bowl. So I'm like buzzing to start answering them. So I will begin. So this is from Worcester's Primary. Hello, Worcester's Primary. If I could meet any other author, who would it be? So it's a really hard question. It would be Robin Stephens, but I already met her. So, because I think she's just the best at writing mysteries for young people. So I'd meet Robin again for the first time. I'd love to meet her. I'd also like to meet Maya Angelou. Or who else would I like to meet? I would like to meet an author called Miranda July, who she's an artist, and she's very quirky, and I think she'd be funny to meet, but I'd like to meet her. I'd also maybe like to meet Tom Fletcher. And I kind of met him, but I'd like to meet him again. Greg James, he writes really great books with Chris Smith, Kid Normal, and he'd be great. But yeah, as a writer, I get to see writers quite often. It's really nice. But maybe I'll think a bit more on that one, because there might be some people from the past who I've forgotten. Okay, Room and Family Homeschool. Hello. What were the first mystery books I read? They were Sherlock Holmes books. Test of the Ubervilles and oh no, what did I read? Oh gosh, I read loads of mystery books. I used to read a lot when I was younger, and I used to read quite long books when I was young. So I used to read Sherlock Holmes, Test of the Ubervilles, not by Sherlock Holmes, but I read that. I used to read The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. I used to love that book. But my first one may have been some short stories, some short Sherlock Holmes stories. My mum and I used to go to the market in Luton, and we used to go to the second-hand bookstore, and we used to get books for 10p. And so we'd read so many. So we read lots of mysteries, and we'd also read horror, short horror stories. The Pan Macmillan short horror story collection. Terrifying. Okay, farmer's school. How do you get your ideas out on paper? Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? So that's what I was kind of talking about before. It's about not being precious and not being perfect. So the thing that I like about writing is you don't have to have a fancy laptop or fancy pens. You can either use a notebook that you like, any pen that you like. You can use your phone and record voice notes or use your notes app. You can just write anywhere. And what I would say is don't worry about starting the story from the beginning and making it go to the end. Just put down some little ideas to start. Just put down 2 words. She wears red shoes. She is sneaky. She likes chocolate cake. And then you've got this something starts bubbling up. So just little words here and there, and then the story will start like making itself appear to you. I know that sounds like mystery and kind of ghostly, but writing is kind of like that sometimes. You have to kind of like conjure up the story. So get it down, but don't worry, don't be precious, is my answer. Okay. Greenford High School. I think is that in Middlesex? My cousin used to live in Greenford, so I hope that's where that is. What does a writing day look like? Well, it really depends on the day. There are some days where I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write my book today, and I can really sit down and I can write many words, sometimes 10,000 words. I can just do it. But then I'll do that and then I'll be so tired I can't look at it again for weeks. So sometimes a writing day looks like I'm not doing any work. I'm just like looking out of my window thinking, which I do a lot. Or some days can be like hunched over the computer writing. So there's not a typical day. So I'm not a person that says, yeah, I swim in the morning and then I come back and then I eat my breakfast and then I write 2,000 words and then I don't do that. It's however I feel that morning. Well, yeah, my publisher won't like that, but that is what it is. Hallam Fields Primary School. Where do you get the ideas from to write your stories? So I write stories based on lots of things, lots of ideas. And I think about when I was young and the things that I used to see around me that I used to like. So I've got a short story out in Super Sunny Murder Club and it's called Window Pane, and it's about a boy who is really allergic in the summer, doesn't like the summer, and his house backs onto his school, and that's very much me. I hate the sun, I hate summer, I have hay fever, I get really itchy. So I stay indoors. I hate flying ants. It's just like awful. So I stay indoors. And yes, my view when I was growing up was my school. So then, yeah, I've made a murder mystery there. So get ideas from the things that you're doing at the moment, like your walk to school, or if you don't walk, like how you wheel yourself to school, your cycle, or your journey. Or if you're homeschooled, like what do you do on your breaks? Everything is a source of inspiration if you like look at it from a different angle. So don't worry about having to go on like, oh, I know, I've got to go on an expensive trip miles away to get inspiration now. There's inspiration everywhere, under your nose. Oh, now this is a serious question. Have you ever doubted one of your books and wanted to give up entirely being an author? That's from Farmer's School. Okay, this is like deep therapy. And yeah, I have doubted some of my books. And have I wanted to give up? No, I don't want to give up, but sometimes I do think, oh, maybe I'll do something different. But before I became an author, I had lots of different jobs. So I worked at an art gallery for 10 years, and then I made an app that was like Netflix for babies with games before Netflix even had like Netflix Kids, so like years and years ago. So I've done lots of different things. So it's taken me a long time to be an author, so I'm not going to quit. But yeah, there are some books that I wish turned out differently. I'm not going to tell you which ones, and then you can read them and then spot all like the problems with them. But there are some ones that I'm like, oh, I wish it didn't go that way. Or there are other books that I think are really good that not many people have read. So as long as somebody likes it somewhere, then I'm happy, I think. Okay, let's see. Hallam Fields again. How did your career start? So after I went to university. I went to Sussex University, which is in Brighton, or just outside Brighton. And I did English and Media Studies there. And after I graduated, I stayed there and I worked in the publication office. So I made like the nice brochures to encourage people to come to university. And that's when I knew I wanted to do publishing, because actually I liked proofreading and looking at things. I was like, yeah, this is nice. And then from there, I went and did other things, but I came back to it. So yeah, that's how I did it. Okay, I'm going to make sure I get a new school. Okay, this is Worcester's Primary. Hello again. What challenges have I had to overcome? Okay, so I've had to overcome fear of like lack of confidence, definitely. Sometimes when you're writing a book, you don't have a lot of money. So I've had to overcome being like a little bit, not as having as much money as I'd like. So that's sometimes tricky. So you have to eat like less and eat more beans. So I had to do that sometimes. But yeah, it's quite scary when you write a book, because it's like, oh, these are all my best ideas. And then you put it all together. And then you go, hello world, here's my ideas. And then people read it. When you write a book, sometimes you forget that other people read it. And you're like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I've had to overcome a lot of fears. And it starts again every time you write a new book. Okay, I've got 2 more questions to go. So I'm going to dig deep into my bowl. Right, SP. St Paul's Way, Tower Hamlets, hello. Do I ever get bored of writing? Yeah, sometimes. On the day that's when I'm doing the doing and it's not coming out like the way I want it to in my head, then I get a bit like, oh no, I'm annoyed and I'm bored of it. But those days are very few, and you can always work around it by doing something else. So if you get like writer's block, the way to solve it is to go for a walk or to start another scene that you know that you can write. But yeah, sometimes I get a bit bored, but the boredom is more annoyance than boredom. Okay, one last question. I'm excited, I can barely breathe, that's why. And I want to choose a really good one. Okay, somewhere from a school that begins with G, but it's Green. Let's see if it's Greenford. Yes, Greenford High School. Do I have a favourite place to write? So, in my boat, at the very front of my boat, it's called the aft. And in the very front, I have an office. And it's really nice. It's painted blue, because I really like dark colours, so it's painted blue, it's really nice. But I don't write in there as much as I could. And I bought a really expensive chair, because I was like, I've got to look after my back, and I've got to... Da, da, da. So I bought it, but I don't. I literally write my books in bed, like this. And I have like sparkling water here, and a bag of crisps here, and I do like this. And then that's how I do it. I don't recommend doing that. I want you to have healthy backs. So sit up straight and write your stories, but that's how I do it. I feel like the more relaxed I am, the easier the words are to come out. So I've reached the end of my questions. I have absolutely loved being here with you. I hope that you found some of this useful and helpful. Also, some of the schools are going to be receiving 30 copies of the 9-Night Mystery. So I'm crossing my fingers that it is you. And if it is you, I'll send you a special something along with your books. But I just want to say thank you again to all of you, all your teachers, for coming along. And thank you to the Book Trust for having BookTrust Represents and making it so great to be an author in the UK. So thank you, everybody, and see you later.